federal constituency backs digital inclusion and 2027 support for President Tinubu and Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Plus, India bans vast online gambling industry. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back to Spectrum News at 4. First in the news at this time is from the national scene where the three tiers of Nigerian government, the federal, state and local government councils, have shared a total of 2 trillion naira, being the July 2025 Federation account revenue. The revenue was shared at the August 2025 Federation Account Allocation Committee FAC meeting held in Abuja. The 2 trillion total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 1.2 trillion naira, distributable value-added tax VAT revenue of 640 billion naira, electronic money transfer levy EMTL revenue of 37 billion naira and the exchange difference of 39 billion naira. According to the communique made available to newsmen today by the spokesperson for the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Bawa Mokwa, the gross statutory revenue of 3.07 trillion naira was received for the month of July 2025. This was lower than the sum of 3 trillion naira received in the month of June 2025 by 415 billion naira. Meanwhile, the federal government has launched a new initiative aimed at reducing overhead expenditure by cutting down the cost of air travel across its ministries, departments and agencies. Speaking in Abuja, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, represented by the Permanent Secretary Special Duties Raymond Omachi, tasked the Bison Fly project team with the timely implementation of the initiative, noting that the project is expected to save the government an estimated 24 billion naira annually through discounted airfares for official travels. Edun emphasized that the move aligns with the renewed hope agenda as well as the ongoing fiscal policy and tax reforms of the present administration, which prioritizes cost optimization and efficient resource management. According to the minister, the successful implementation of the project will promote a culture of transparency, accountability, and fiscal discipline within the federal civil service, stating that it is expected to boost economic growth, create jobs, enhance productivity in the public sector, ultimately improving the well-being of Nigerians. In another development, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has departed Yokohama, Japan for Brazil, where he will begin a state visit on August 24th. According to a statement signed by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president will make a stopover in Los Angeles before proceeding to Brasilia, the Brazilian capital. Tinubu begins his two-nation trip on August 15th. Leaving Abuja with a brief stopover in Dubai, UAE, before arriving in Yokohama on August 18. While in Japan, he attended the opening ceremony and plenary of the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD 9, held bilateral meetings and rounded off with an interactive session with members of the Nigerian community. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared that the rise of Nigeria to its rightful place in the Committee of Nations has already begun, assuring Nigerians in the diaspora that the country's economy is stabilizing, opportunities are expanding and reforms are yielding visible results. Speaking at an interactive session with members of the Nigerian community in Japan, held on the sidelines of the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development TCAD-9, the president said his administration is determined to reverse negative trends and make the country a land of prosperity for its citizens at home and abroad. He reminded the diaspora audience that while it is a personal right to remain abroad, the nation still depends on their input to achieve its developmental aspirations, maintaining that the government's priority is to create an environment where every citizen at home or abroad can feel the positive impact of change. Tinubu emphasized that his government is committed to creating an environment where every Nigerian can thrive, noting that governance is about thinking and doing, promoting unity, stability and progress. He also urged Nigerians abroad to remain good ambassadors of their country and to reflect positively on its image, stressing that poor comments and negative reflection will not help better the growth of Nigeria. And in the meantime, the president has urged Nigerians to try a newly launched personal income tax calculator that estimates how much would be paid under the tax reforms his administration recently signed into law. In a post on his official X account, the president said the calculator allows citizens to compare their estimated tax under the proposed reforms with current rates and ensure a clear understanding of the impact on individual incomes. Tinubu noted that the reforms, which takes effect from January 2026, are intended to establish a fair tax system, one that never punishes poverty or weighs down the most vulnerable. In a separate development, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, has ordered departments, units and directorates of Justice Ministry to align their priorities with established digital framework such as the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025, the National Policy on Justice, as well as the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Fagbemi gave the directive at a top management retreat organized by the Federal Ministry of Justice held in Ikotekpene local government area of Akwa Ibom State, with the theme Positioning for Digital Transformation. The minister said the Justice Ministry can no longer afford to lag, especially in the era of increasing reliance of citizens on technology to access services. According to him, the ministry must embrace digital tools that guarantee timely and efficient service delivery if it is to meet the expectations of Nigerians and support the president's vision for justice sector reforms. Away from that, the Benue State House of Assembly has slammed 3-month suspension on 4 lawmakers for allegedly initiating impeachment moves against the Speaker of the House, Yasin Dajo, their member representing Makurdi North, Alfred Berger, his Kian State constituency counterpart, Terna Shimawuwa, Cyril Ekong of Obi State constituency, and James Umoru representing Apa State constituency. After the suspension, the House also readjusted its leadership to include Kennedy Angbo as the new Deputy Majority Leader. Douglas Akia emerged the position of Deputy Chief Whip, while Elias Audu got the position of the new spokesman of the House. And back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umar Eno has empowered 476 persons in Ikono Ini Federal Constituency with over 239 million naira as farming, trading and equipment grants. The checks for the empowerment packages were presented to beneficiaries at the town square meeting for the federal constituency held at Ibiaku, Untok, Ukbo. In his remarks, the governor noted that the beneficiaries were qualified citizens of the federal constituency who had registered through the Arise Youth Employment Portal and were duly selected. He called on the people to embrace the digital method of getting jobs, empowerment, and other government contracts, stressing that it was imperative to do things differently to provide a level playing field for everyone in order to accommodate those who have no one to recommend them. The governor noted that his administration was touching lives, raising men and women who has the requisite capacity and are willing to work, and have registered on the Arise portal. Explaining the reasons for his people-centric governance disposition, Governor Eno said he became a governor by the grace of God and by the instrumentality of Deacon Udom Emmanuel, and as such, he must allow the same grace to reach other people who do not know anybody. Ability of funds. Following a request by stakeholders in the area, the governor approved immediate intervention in the State College of Science and Technology and directed Commissioner for Education to visit the institution to ascertain the things needed to facilitate accreditation for the programs of the school. He further said the college could either be maintained as a College of Science and Technology or converted into a campus of the Akwa Ibom State University based on their preference. In their separate remarks, local government chairman of Ikono and Ini, commissioners for agriculture and commissioner for trade and investment, Dr. Ofyong Ofor and Dr. Ubong Iyang respectively, the former House of Representative member Professor Ini Udoka and Sir S.U. Akban commended the governor for the different impactful strides in the constituency. Presenting the needs document, Senator Aloysius Etok also appreciated the governor for his leadership strides in the state and pledged their continuous support beyond 2025. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that high points of the event were the award of a chieftaincy title of Ete Iberedem on the governor by the traditional rulers of the constituency, as well as a motion moved by Emmanuel Ukbong Udo and seconded by Lawrence Udodie to support the governor, Pastor Umo Eno, President Tinubu and Senator Godswill Akpabio in the 2027 elections. And now to Africa, where a military court has acquitted a former special advisor to the Democratic Republic Congo's president, Felix Tshisekedi. Arrested in 2022, Francois Beya was charged with conspiring to kill the head of state. He was accused of violating orders and inciting soldiers into a dereliction of duty. At the end of his 3-year closed-door trial, judges found that the prosecution's case was based on a juxtaposition of isolated facts taken out of context and that Beya was a victim of a plot and not an instigator. The prosecution argued that Beya had participated in a plot to assassinate the president, relying on audio recordings of conversations with his colleagues and testimony reporting his criticism of the head of state. However, the judges rejected all of these elements, considering them inconclusive. And on the foreign scene, India's parliament has passed a sweeping law banning online gambling after government figures showed 450 million people lost a combined $2.3 million annually on apps. The ban impacts platforms for card games, poker and fantasy sports, including India's widely popular homegrown fantasy cricket apps. The government said roughly a third of the world's most populous country had lost money gambling online. The Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill was passed by both houses of parliament late on Thursday and criminalizes the offering, promotion and financing of such games, with offenders facing up to 5 years in prison. And still on the foreign scene, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said today there was no meeting planned between Russia and the Ukrainian presidents. Despite U.S. attempt to organize the summit, U.S. President Donald Trump raised expectations for a swift summit between the leaders by saying they have both agreed to meet after they received the President Volodymyr Zelensky with European allies in the White House. Lavrov told reporters that Russian President Vladimir Putin was ready to meet Zelensky when the agenda would be ready for a summit, adding that it was not ready at all. Adsby recalled that Lavrov earlier this week slammed the White House meeting as a clumsy attempt by Europeans to change the U.S. leader's position on Ukraine, agreed with Putin at a summit in Alaska last week. And still to come in the news, Women's World Cup games moved out of Bengaluru months after tragedy. Stay tuned for details of this in a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back to Spectrum News at 4. On our business news, the federal government, through the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, has declared that the country is firmly on course to ramp up crude oil output to 2.5 million barrels per day by 2026, following a strategy to unlock deep water potentials, revive dormant fields, and accelerate approval for new projects. It also announced the completion of a case-by-case review of the marginal fields licensing that are due for renewal. The chief executive of the NUPRC, Benga Komolafe, stated this in Abuja while delivering his goodwill message at the 2025 Pengasan Energy and Labour Summit with the theme Building a Resilient Oil and Gas Sector in Nigeria, Advancing HSE, ESG, Investment and Incremental Production. Despite the shift, Komolafe stressed that hydrocarbons will remain central to global energy and its demand for decades, especially in Africa and Asia. And still in business, the Debt Management Office DMO has announced an offering of 200 billion naira saving bonds. According to the offer document on its website, one of the bonds was a reopening of the June 2032 bond with the coupon rate at 17.95%. The new 5-year bond has the minimum subscription amount to be 5,000 naira with additions in multiples of 1,000 naira, subject to a maximum of 50 million naira. DMO added that interest are paid semi-annually. In health, as part of its commitment to build the capacity of its staff, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency (NPHCDA) has commenced the training of 126 newly recruited staff under its Leadership Development Academy. The agency disclosed this in a press statement signed by the Director of Advocacy and Communication, Dr. Ladan Aliyu. NPHCDA is the federal government agency with the mandate to provide technical and programmatic support to states, local government areas and other stakeholders in the functioning, planning, implementation, supervision and monitoring of primary healthcare services in Nigeria. The Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of NPHCDA, Dr. Muyi, urged the trainees to engage in self-development and assured them that the agency would equip them with the necessary skills and tools to be effective in their jobs and to enhance primary health care in Nigeria. Aino added that the recruitment is part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda on job creation for Nigerians as a dividend of democracy. To sports now, where the Bangalore Stadium, where 11 cricket fans died during celebrations in June, will no longer host Women's World Cup matches, including the opening game. Mumbai will instead be one of the 4 Indian venues for the 50-over tournament starting on September 30, along with the Sri Lankan capital Colombo. The International Cricket Council cited unforeseen circumstances for moving games away from Chinnaswamy Stadium without saying the specific reasons. However, local media has said that police denied permissions to the Karnataka State Cricket Association to host major matches in the stadium. And still in sports, Fulham are targeting a move for Basel winger Philippe Otele. According to reports, Fulham and their scouts in attendance during Basel's UEFA Champions League playoff and its tie against Danish club Copenhagen and are now considering whether to place a formal offer. Meanwhile, Marco Silva's side, however, faces competition from the Bundesliga side and Eintracht Frankfurt, who are also having Otele on their radar. On our entertainment news, comedian and actor Ayo A.Y. Mekong has dismissed reports suggesting that he is attempting to reconcile with his estranged wife, Mabel. More than a year after their separation, the couple, who tied the knot in 2008, went public with their split in April 2024. And in a 16-year marriage, their relationship had previously faced speculation in 2016 when Mabel was reported to have moved out of their Lekki home, and again in 2017 when she publicly asked a Lagos socialite to stay away from her husband. Both parties denied the claims at the time. AY, 54, eventually confirmed the collapse of their marriage in a 2024 Instagram post. While the separation was kept largely private, recent online reports claimed that the comedian alongside family members had approached Mabel to seek reconciliation. Addressing the rumors in a statement shared on Instagram, the comedian described the reports as false and manipulative. And that's all we have for you on the news at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rita Inung. Enjoy the rest of your day.